Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Galactic Ambassadors podcast. My name is Julia Balaz. Today is 22nd of October, 2023, when we are recording this. And I'm joined by Ronna Prince, joining us from Chicago. Welcome, Ronna. Great to see you here.
Julia. Hi, great. It's great to be here.
Yes, so Ronna is one of our recently certified Quantum Soul Guidance Facilitators. I love the word facilitator that I've noticed on your website. Normally we say practitioners, but facilitators actually feels really good. So thank you for bringing that word to the table. And as I was preparing for this podcast, thinking about how I'll introduce you and how to give justice to all the incredible achievements and milestones that you've accomplished in your life, I am going to have to read the qualifications that are listed on your practitioner's profile on our website, galacticastrology.com. And I would like to ask you then, which of all these many exceptional modalities are closest to your heart and which of them you're using in your practice? So we'll get to that. But so let me take time to read about some of the accomplishments. The first things that you highlighted is as a professional channel of ascended masters and benevolent galactic beings since 2004. I'm so grateful that you were guided to Quantum Soul Guidance work. I can't wait to hear more about this. Creator of soul codes, keys from the heart, codes to the soul. Spiritual intuitive counselor, esoteric numerologist, certified hypnotherapist, Aura-Soma practitioner, the beautiful colorful background that we see behind you. That's Aura-Soma, right? We can talk about that later. SSP, Polyvagal therapy, certified provider, family constellation, facilitator, certified by the Hellinger Institute in Toronto. You also worked with internal family systems, coaching HeartMath, so coach and instructor at the HeartMath Institute, radical forgiveness coach, and award-winning documentary film creator and producer. We can see this award-winning documentary at sacredjourneyoftheheart.com, and I believe this featured one and only Dr. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, and many others. I mean, just wow. Wow. How do you connect with these modalities? And is there any that really stand out for you that you hold dearest to your heart and still working with bringing them into your work going forward? Would you like to comment on any of these?
Well, I think the top four you mentioned, I guess, are kind of take my place, the place in my heart, this beautiful system of color and light, and that I first ran into in 2005, the Aura-Soma, that is from the UK. And I stood in front of that, and I had just come out as a channel. I started channeling in a place called Conscious Light Botanicals, and it was a herbal store, and they had this whole set. And I said, whatever this is, I have to have it. At that time, I was just understanding what energies I was working with. And so the woman said, well, I said, I'm a channel. I'm kind of channel. She goes, well, will you channel for me? I said, okay. I started out channeling in the who I knew I was working with, this Master Khutumi, who's represented in this set in the pale yellow. So I started channeling it with Aura-Soma, and I'm certified in this. And it's still very fundamental to everything I do because it connects to numbers, numerology, tarot, Kabbalah, astrology, I Ching, the Ascended Masters, Inner Child Healing Set, Archangels, the whole thing is in here. So everything I learn, even Galactic Astrology is here. I'm seeing different Galactic Astrology energies in the cards. The Aura-Soma Tarot, which goes along with this, is absolutely stunning. It shows galactic beings all over the place. So that's my love. And when I talk about it, I'm kind of like passionate and on fire, but I like everything else too, because different people have different needs. But when people get to see their energy reflected in these colors and what it looks like and how their soul absolutely knows what they're here doing, it's life-changing. The first session for people is just like, wow, how did you know that? I said, you told me. That's your soul told me. You know it all. So I love that. It's been a wonderful just learning, lifelong learning process to continue to learn more. And here I am with my tribe I found, Galactic Astrologers. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. And we're so thrilled and honored to have you on board. Isn't it just so incredible that divine intelligence, how it is intertwined into everything we do, and how you can unravel different puzzle pieces through so many different modalities. And once you study a multitude of them, you find that actually you just get same story through many, that is translated through many different modalities, and just like validation after validation after validation. And it's just so incredible how it works. But what really excites me is seeing or having the opportunity to ask you about how you are now seeing galactic astrology connecting to Aura-Soma. There was just like a brief mention before we started recording that a person gave you a number, which you connect to a color, and that connected to a star system. And then you look at their chart and the star system is there as most prevalent. Do you want to share anything like that?
Yes, that connects to my primary modality. And most people will choose that first, even though I have the galactic astrology, which I call the soul codes that I created. It's an offshoot of Aura-Soma, but I took it a little further and got the blessing of the person who's in charge of Aura-Soma now, who was also in the movie. Actually, Mike Booth of Aura-Soma International in the UK was the first one that said that yes to my film. And I asked him in 2008, and I was learning this, what we call one of the star within. And so I expanded a little bit, and soul codes is just a series of numbers that my clients will give me after a brief meditation. And I've been testing this to say, well, if somebody, their soul's going to know if there's a connection in their chart, they will give me that number. And the last few sessions I've tried it, and it's exactly works for galactic astrology. It works in any line of inquiry. The soul does know. So it's just a beautiful system. And the numerology is a big thing for me, because I actually, we might go into this later, but had a spiritual awakening at 13. And that's when one of this being came to me, and I came to know him as Khutumi later, who used to live as Pythagoras. So I never studied numerology except in the non-physical planes with Master Pythagoras. So I can translate and hear all kinds of things from numbers, and been practicing this craft for many years, and it's gotten more and more easy for me. And I can translate things up to very high calibrations, like 333. I can, I have some examples on my website. What does that mean? What does that translate to? That the soul's communicating through vibration and resonance, one of the number 1 and 2 of the universal laws, which I teach.
Oh, it's such a gift.
I get so excited about this, but I want to show you this. This is the Aura-Soma tarot deck. And I don't know if I hold this up.
Oh, see this? I know they have tarot decks also.
Oh, it's a phenomenal, and the creator of it, Pamela Matthews, has given me her blessing to use her artwork. I just put the copyright on it all the time. But this is number 78, the Ace of Pentacles. This is called the Crown Rescue, and the affirmation. Each one of these bottles back here have an affirmation, a main theme, energy on the spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical, which we're not supposed to talk about because it's not FDA approved. So They don't do anything physically, but anyway, this one is called The Full Power of the Divine Comes to Earth to Help Humanity. Isn't that just like the most cosmic tarot card you've pretty much ever seen? Yes. So this is the gift of choosing to come out of an incarnational in between and go, where am I going to land? All over the place. So I love this one. Super galactic card. So
thank you for bringing that in. It excites me how much we don't know, and how much there is out there of just absolute genius level work that is helping so many people. So I am so grateful that we have these podcasts where each time we can learn something new, incredible modalities and work that just keeps us entertained. But it's not really about entertainment. It is about helping us to deepen our understanding of why we're here and how can we make this world a better place, or fulfill our highest potential to help this world in our own unique way, right? The card that you shared just reminds me of a story of someone who experienced the other side. They had near-death experience, and they remembered when they were coming into this lifetime that the guides, they would say, told them, like they were standing in front of a tunnel going into the portal to incarnate into the human body, but the guides were like, no, not yet, not now you can go. Now it's your timing, because of how everything needs to align mathematically, geometrically, in terms of planetary alignments, stars, constellations, all that. So it's just so much fun.
There's no accidents, as we say, there's just divine incidents.
Yes. So Ronna, normally with our podcast, we ask our certified practitioners to share about their journey of spiritual awakening and how they arrived here. But I feel with you, it's such a long story, and there's so much that we want to talk about in this podcast in terms of your services, sharing your website, some of the work that you've prepared for today. Is there anything in terms of your spiritual journey that you would like to mention in terms of maybe how you found galactic astrology, or what was it that attracted you to adding that to the repertoire that you are already working with? Is there anything you would like to mention from your past before we focus on the present and future?
And it is a long journey. So I mentioned, briefly that I had this massive awakening at 13, because I had gone through some really challenging early years with some abuse, and I thought I was dying because I had a tumor growing on my spine, and I had nowhere to turn. So I started praying, and this massive light emanation came into my room, and I probably thought it was Jesus. Maybe it was. It was undefinable, but unconditional love, and just told me I was going to be fine, because everything I knew about my life, I knew from a very young age. I knew I was going to have 4 children and travel the world and do all kinds of things. And I couldn't understand, how can I be 13 and dying, and finally this being spoke to me and said, no, you'll be fine. Get up and tell your mother and go. All the things that you see will come to pass. Now I know, for example, Master Khutumi, who's number 51 in Aura-Soma, one of the phrases that is 51 is "let it be known." That's a 51. That's a Master Khutumi energy. And he said, "Let it be known, everything you see will come to pass." And so I got up and went about my little life. Had the little tumor removed. It was nothing but other than a spiritual awakening impetus. And then I started studying esoterics just on the side. I think I started with tarot, and then branched into all kinds of explorations, and was living what I wanted to do as a normal life. I wanted to be normal, because I knew there was nothing normal about the way I grew up. And so eventually, at a very important age, which connects with every teaching I do about the 12 chromatic in-body chakras, at 42 years old is the 7th chromatic chakra of the heart. I got this tap on the shoulder. It's like, you have to come, you have to start teaching now. And I'm like, I'm looking back there, I'm going, since it was non-physical being, and you have to go out there. And I was normal. I was a banker, and I said, I can't do this. I don't have any qualification. Well, I said, okay, I did this big surrender, which is this whole story, but this is who I am and this is what I do. And the doors flew open, and I started having people at healing centers giving me their entire client base to work with. And so that was 2004 or 5. And so I've done this full time since then. And then after I surrendered and said, I'll do this, because I could see connections in past lives through my tarot deck, regular tarot deck. And people were just saying, please, you've got to share this. And so I finally surrendered reluctantly. I had a big spiritual fit, literally, because I'm like, I can't, this is too weird. I can't do this. And so that's when, for the second time, here comes this big light emanation into my room, when I was literally kicking and screaming, going, I'm not going to do this at all until I know what I'm working with. Because I was channeling a group called the Sara Ankara. Didn't know who they were. I'm like, this is way too weird. I was doing all this galactic stuff. I now know that that's a group of beings from Orion. The Sara Ankara is 35. Orion is 35. Numerology, using Pythagorean numerology. So here comes this big being for the second time, because I said, I'm not doing this unless I know what's going on. And he opens his thing and he goes, I am the master of love and wisdom. And that was Master Khutumi, who came right in for the second time. And I said, okay, I'll do this. So I just went out as a channel, and then was picking up modalities along the way. And what has happened to cut through all the rest of that, including, making the film that came out in 2012. And this is actually the very beginning of the 19th of October was the 11th anniversary of the film. And so this is the beginning of my 12th year of really coming out. So I had been kind of hiding out the last few years. I had to get my kids raised. I got in the spotlight with the film. I mean, really big. I was around the world with that film, and in Tel Aviv and everywhere. And then what happens, and Greg Braden and I talked about this, he said, you get attacked. And he said, every spiritual teacher has gone through this to some certain extent. For me, where my Leo is in the 12th house, my sun sign, I had to pull back. I couldn't do it. I'm like, I can't do this. I still felt like alone. I didn't have my tribe behind me. It was just me and a lot of naysayers. Who do you think you are? You know, I started putting HeartMath in the movie in 2012. I put out what I call the higher laws beyond the law of attraction, which is the final 7th law of polarity. And I said, we got higher set of laws, people. And I had to fight to keep that in the film about the law of abundance, reciprocity, and confluence. I retreated. And so when I woke up in the morning of 6/6 this summer, and I hear from Khutumi at 3:33 in the morning, you've got to do a special series around the Lion's Gate. I'm like, okay. I always do a special series at the end of the year, bridging into a new one. And I said, all right, well, I guess I'll go. Okay. So he said, you've got to go bigger. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, he talks to me all the time. And he says, celestial sphere. So this is, again, I call him my great father teacher coming in. So I just go in there and I Google celestial sphere, and I found you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm looking for, is a bigger picture of who we really are. And so that's how I found Galactic Astrology. And I channel on 6677. I can't remember, somewhere in July, I go, I got to take the 101 class. Then it's like, no, you got to take the whole thing. And it was a wonderful program. And once I, realized what this is all about and how easy it is for me to look in people's charts. The astrology part's not easy, but looking in the frequencies and the numbers, then I go, I guess I can really do this. Plus all the people that you brought in, the students, some of the people that help facilitate the classes. I'm like, okay, this is the most home I have ever felt in my whole life. So that's why I'm like, this is everything else, put aside. I'm going to study this, all the business stuff and the using pendulums. That's, I've done that for 20 years. So that was simple, but I did it from a beginner's mind. I said, I'm going to read every line in here. And I did. So that's kind of the long and short of it. It really was, I think, my great teacher, Khutumi, who said, this is what we're talking about. This is where you belong. And thank goodness I started studying astrology seriously in 2020. As I always said, that's not my thing. It's too complicated. I just need a couple numbers. But in 2020, I started studying, and I'm like, okay, that's probably why I've been studying astrology for 2.5 years, because I had some beginning, and I still need a lot of work to understand all the intricacies. But
beautiful. One thing to another. We are guided every step of the way, and you certainly were so beautifully. I wonder if your Neptune and Scorpio in 3rd house, I found that stood out as something that speaks of psychic abilities. I've seen Neptune and Scorpio many times with people who feel like they can naturally tune into the other side and receive guidance. But you have a very strong stellium in 12th house, planets in Leo, and you have a strong Hydra star connection. So let me just mention a few of the stars in your chart, if that's okay. First of all, that stellium in 12th house. So you have your sun in Leo in 12th house, your North Node in Leo in 12th house, your Mercury, Leo 12th house, Uranus, Leo 12th house, and also Lilith. So I wondered, when you were talking about you working in the film and how it pushed you out into the public eye, how challenging that must have felt, because anyone I know, including myself, with multiple planets in 12th house, it's not comfortable to be out there. We're really much better in seclusion because we tap into so much in terms of spiritual understanding and all this quantum stuff. So how was it like for you with that planetary stellium in 12th?
Well, it was challenging because I started the concept of the film. I came up with it in 2008, and then we started filming in 2009 in Glastonbury and in Stonehenge, because I had this vision that I was going to do 12 films, kind of like a big Leo type of an idea. And so realized that the film wasn't going to be about the people we were filming. It was about the people making the film, including myself. And because I was starting to do international tours with my clients to go to Stonehenge and go to Egypt and Peru and all the Mayan temples in Mexico. And that was it was really, really fun. And then we were just going to film people, how they changed when they went to special sacred sites. Well, the camera starts turning in on you. And I really had to dig deep and go, okay, what is this about? And that's when I met Colin Tipping and did a lot of work with radical forgiveness and brought the HeartMath people in. And then basically with numerology, I already knew that I needed to create a magnetic attractor field around the project, which is 111, which is Sacred Journey of the Heart is 111. And so I knew that it would be bringing in some really cool people, but I didn't think it was going to do what it did. And then I realized I had to dig deep and say, I got to be authentic, because I was on film and there's some video of me, Ronna Prince, before and after. I'm talking about love and compassion. I'm scared to death in front of the camera because it's bringing up all my old childhood stuff. And so I had to make a decision to tell a small part of my story so that I could be authentic and realize this is a sacred journey into our hearts and each person watching it, and especially the person on camera with the lights on. And so that was a huge turning point where I realized I need to tell my story. And I know I've helped so many people, by being courageous to put that much out there. It really wasn't. It wasn't the Me Too generation at that time. And so I said, I've lived through this. I know how to help people with whatever big T trauma or little T trauma, because I've figured it mostly out. But I did have a moment in the screening of the film. It ran for 4 weeks in the theaters, which was crazy for a first-time newbie filmmaker. And this wise woman, crone, was standing in front of me after the film, and she said, "My dear, I think this is just the beginning of another part of the journey." And I knew her words were so true. I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? And so then the film did get out and did get big. And then, things happened that you can't control, but it made me go into hiding. And then some of the things like that I do know, that I have known from the beginning, like I knew that my daughter was somehow going to face a big life challenge. And I have 3 boys and 1 girl. And so I knew this from early on. When she was born, I saved her umbilical cord blood. And she ended up with leukemia in 2019. And she's fine today. But these are just the kinds of things that I knew. And I knew I had to have another kid. And that other kid, her youngest brother, is her bone marrow match that saved her life in 2020. So it's been, that kind of had me back, taking care of that. Nothing else too much mattered to me other than getting her well. And she is well now. But it's, being able to see into the shadows and see what's there and is not always easy. And I know I also have this Shapley attractor, and I think it's in my moon at 0.00. And so some of this big stuff it's a little hard to, recognize what you're bringing in until you see Galactic Astrology. Then it's like, oh, okay, that's why I have these big projects, these big ideas. And
yes, absolutely. Yeah, but I really want to highlight here that all those planets, all that planetary stellium that I've mentioned, it's all on your ascendant through 12th house. So there's so much energy coming through multiple planets layered on top of each other, including Uranus, making like really unexpected turns of the events. It's on your ascendant, and the frequency of the alpha star of the Hydra constellation, Alphard, is there. So it's the water snake, the water. The wisdom of the ancients and divine feminine frequency. What I would sense from it all through your story, and also having Pluto in 1st house to add to it all, as if it's not enough. You have all that there. I feel, is it possible that in previous incarnations you have carried the feminine, divine feminine wisdom? For many lifetimes, you were developing it, growing, being the seer, being the guide, being the healer, being, the priestess, all those roles of the many faces of Divine Mother embodied on earth, and perhaps being prosecuted for it as it happened. And now you are given this opportunity and platform and guidance to actually kind of resurrect yourself, come through with what has been suppressed over many incarnations for you before, and now it's a lifetime where we're saying it's no more. Like this time, I'm going to be heard, I'm going to be seen, but not just you're bringing through many others. It's almost like a gateway, or the grandmother, spider.
Yeah.
Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah. So that's coming through too. But that water snake frequency, divine feminine, ascended mastery, that is just coming through so strongly. So that's seeded in astrology, adding the stars, the black holes. It just all makes so much sense why it's been so intense and so extraordinary. One more thing that I wanted to highlight, is that you have 3 planets in their natural rulership. Your sun in Leo, moon in Cancer, and Saturn in Capricorn. And I'm noticing people who have 3 planets in their natural rulership, they seem to be leading extraordinary life, where they are pushed into leadership of some sort, and they're pushed into influencing masses in one way or another. There's maybe only a handful of people I've met like that, but it's interesting that you have that too, on top of everything else.
No, I had, and that's one of the things I do webinars in the beginning and somewhere halfway through the year on the numerology themes of the year. So I was so excited with 2022, because I'm like, we've got a pure master triple frequency, and I am a leader is 20 consonants, 22 vowels. So I knew that was going to be pushing us out. There's something that, was leading into 23 and 24, but that's my really popular, free online webinars is like honing in on those themes. But I have to circle back, because I'm laughing when you're talking about spider grandmother, because when I was doing this intense study with your material in July, August, September, I had these spiders that were weaving massive webs at my back door. I mean, and then we're so honored. I'm like, thank you. And they're weaving. I've got, weaving cosmic webs. And then then the wind would tear them down. And then they'd weave one across the exit of our back deck. And I'm like, okay, here they are. I'm studying this cosmic web of how everything's connected. It was just delightful, because we'd have people come over. No, don't go in the back door. We got visitors back there.
Oh, I love it. And you pay attention. There's signs everywhere. Beautiful. Well, would it be okay if I shared your website now? Or is there anything else you would like to touch on first?
Well, I think it would be a fun time for me to share, what's it like to kind of look at your frequency with Aura-Soma. And so I think that might be fun to share first, if you're good with that.
Let's do that. Yes.
For your birth name with the consonants and vowels in different places. And so, I know you've talked somewhat in the context of the class about the Aldebaran Antares that brings that through. So I'm like, well, that is something without even opening soul records. I'm like, that's what I can ascertain. And then I talk about this energy of 55, which is a master emancipator for humanity to attain freedom for self and family, emancipating past energy and blocks. So when I have something like this, lifting the veil, wisdom rescue, those words in Pythagorean numerology equals 55. I am creating is 55. So I just love numerology, because it helps people like Galactic Astrology see another aspect of who I am. As I have always shared, we choose our birth name and our birth date and all the rest of it. We choose it. We know exactly the vibration we're coming in at. So this is kind of where I start, and I've created all these programs that run. So I want to go down a little bit here and then share with you what that looks like with this beautiful system behind me. So here, went a little too fast. Let me get back up here. Here is here's how it looks in Aura-Soma. This is a 55 bottle of Aura-Soma. It happens to be the Christ, which we always think of as the cosmic Christ, about compassion and caring and really having the clarity to ground that into the earth. And so when I recently compared that 55 energy to this card I was showing before, 78, it's sort of like, here's the soul up here deciding I'm going to come in and I'm going to incarnate. And here's the Christ energy. I don't think of it as a crucifixion, just bringing that down into the red root chakra. Then we see in your consonants 21, this is the universe, the final path of tarot. So we have this Aura-Soma bottle, green and pink. And pink in our system is intense red. There's more light coming through it. So that's another grounding energy. So that's the in Aura-Soma called New Beginning for Love. Really beautiful energy. So it brings the heart into that place of safety and security, and just showing up with the the divine mother, the caretaker of Earth. You see her sitting on planet Earth. So that's beautiful. And then I say your vowels, called this heart's desire, the secret soul path, is your vowels in your name. Is a 34 that connects with this birth of Venus. And I think that's really the turquoise in Aura-Soma is about someone who can really do mass communication through the internet. That's the color of silica. And so it usually will take on, I say it's about 40 until we're about 40 and onwards. And we really start manifesting this secret inner numbers, 34. So it's like gestating in something new and getting ready to just birth it and let it into the creative force of the interconnections that we can make all over the world, like you and I are doing. So how does that sound so far?
Yeah, I just want to say we live for mind-blowing moments. So through studying various modalities, receiving validation after validation is just, every time you see it, it's like, wow, here it is. But it feels mind-blowing because just the various systems that we work with. I love it. Thank you. It absolutely
it's so beautiful. And so then if we just add, there's more. If we just add your married name, we add Balaz onto that, you get to this current name you're using. Here's the 34. Now it's moved to the consonants. That birth of Venus is so important that in your soul choice of partner, you kept that same 34. I'm like, that is like really that turquoise, and having the collective energy help express that. Oh, and here's the 70 tarot card is the 9 of Pentacles, a pinnacle achievement in the material world. And we happen to have the 9. If we think about Lena Denon's work, and this is the Council of 9, some call it the Elohim. And so we have the 4 normal earth elements, and then we have the 5 galactic elements that contain things like plasma and all of that. So that's fun, but let's find out a little tiny bit more, because here's your life. Here is your life path as it from your birth date. So you're 27, you probably know you're the 9 life path. So that's humanitarian service. And it looks kind of like this because it's a 27 before it gets to be a 9. And here's Robin Hood, who is wanting to see all of the forest. He wants to see the entire forest. He doesn't just want to see one tree. So that's someone who has a huge perspective and can bring that grounding energy into the heart. Isn't that great? And then it's 27 reduces to 9. And this is called the crystal cave heart within the heart, the Atlantean energy. So someone with that, I'd say, you know what, I bet you have some Atlantis experience, because that's just does that sound right?
Yeah, for example, through Galactic Astrology, I have the asteroid Atlantis exactly on my nodes. So North Node, actually opposing South Node, conjuncting North Node. If you look in the astrology, it's there. And of course, through past life recalls and challenges. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And that's just right there. And again, there's a turquoise, about mass communication, and green the heart. And we have this wonderful master teacher. I think of him as the Celtic master Hilarion from the Celtic Isles. There you are. And I love how when I put these 2 cards together, I'm like, wow, that looks like Robin Hood is looking up here at Master Hilarion. And I also wanted to say that when I channel the masculine and feminine. So I channel Khutumi and Pallas Athena, Hilarion and his beautiful feminine partner Brigitte of the Celtic Isles. So these are someone with a lot of Celtic history and or living in the beautiful Green Islands, the Green Isle. So there's that. I love that. And then this is when you combine your name number plus your 27 of your life path. So I'm looking at the expanded number. So I don't just go, oh, you're a 9. You're this. So this is the Calypso bottle, which also connects with the horses, but the Emperor. And these are things like I would expect to probably see some important Shapley attractor points with someone who's got an 82, because that's the number. And I think that's the case in your chart.
Yeah, Pluto, Saturn and Shapley, yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got, here's a theme for an 82 person, a part of what you're here to do in your full expression, commit to this path, create it, and then connect everybody to it. And I think I put one more thing, because how does Quantum Soul Guidance and Galactic Astrology connect to your vibration? This is my last part. So Quantum Soul Guidance equals 76, and there's that 34 again.
Amazing.
And so here is the beautiful soul bottle. This is my favorite bottle of Aura-Soma. It's called Trust, the pink and the gold. You almost just want to eat it, but you actually, to use these, you shake them up, you shake up the 2 colors and you put it on your body. And this is alchemy. It's just pure Quantum Soul Guidance is pure alchemy. You put in these elements in, and out comes all this heart and this love and the sun and the moon. So that is, but here's one more fun thing. when we log into the website you created for us practitioners, Galactic Astrology Soul Reading Practitioner login, I'm like, because this is what I hear. This has got to be good. Here's the 21 that we saw up in your outer numbers of your consonants. So when we're logging in, we get this 91119 like information. You know how it used to call in the United States 911. And so this last part I have. So this is how it looks in Aura-Soma. The practice of the practitioner is helping people kind of come out of what can't be seen and bringing them into this awareness. It's actually connected with the Persephone and Demeter. And here's the return path of death of the Aura-Soma Tarot, which is resurrection. This is called divine feminine leadership, is 91. So that's what we're dialing into. I mean, every time we get in there, to me, that's the frequency. It's 91119. It's a new beginning, and I think that's about it. But although I started sharing with you about how I look at themes for the year, and I just want to share this one thing we've had this year. We manifest. So I think you're rating place for this community. So we manifest the higher octaves of what we're learning. Next year, we're going to be asked to be very courageous. 2024. And it's all about next year being seen, 2024. That is an exact frequency match. So that's what I knew is happening here with me in Galactic Astrology. I'm being willing to be seen and I'm getting in public. So thank you. So all that, I think, is what you've been putting out there. So those of us who say, okay, it's time to step time.
So rich. So rich. Thank you very much. So when you do Quantum Soul Guidance sessions for your clients, do you infuse Aura-Soma into, or do they have to book separate sessions for numerology, separate for Galactic Astrology? Is it all right perhaps now if I bring the services page so that you can help people understand how to make the most of all this? So here we are at ronnaprince.com website. This is the homepage. Stop acting small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. Famous quote by Rumi. And the services here. So we have soul codes, Galactic Astrology, Aura-Soma, HeartMath, family constellations, and how family constellations work. But you recently also added a wholeness of 12. So take us through this. So what you just demonstrated with Aura-Soma and in connection to Quantum Soul Guidance sessions, how can people work with you?
When people kind of connect with me, in the first place, most of them have already been through a lot of other practices and modalities. I tend to get people who've learned a lot and they still haven't found the answers that they're seeking. And so where we're tapping into what they know, like your numerology vibration, if you know it, your soul knows it. And so then I often will say to people, we don't even have to figure out what it is that you're here to do, because your soul code will tell us. Let's do family constellation first, or let's go all out for Galactic Astrology. It'll be in those series of 5 numbers that relate to all these bottles back here. So the answer is yes. I am always bringing in this. I can't not, because it's so beautiful and so confirming. But if somebody says, I'm just interested in Galactic Astrology, I will still weave it in, because it's, I can see in somebody's chart. I'll still ask for a soul code. I can see in their chart, like I did yesterday, that for that particular client, the first number she gave me was about Orion. And we have so much that we can look at in the chart. I said, okay, that's where we're going to start. So the soul codes is usually what, for most people, if they go through my website, they'll understand a little bit about how it works. I have a video further down where I'm explaining it, and then I'll weave it into most of the sessions. Sometimes I don't with HeartMath, because that's just like being able to help us regulate our autonomic nervous system. And so sometimes people have to get some of that edge of their, the anxiety and the, fear off of their system. Then we can go into this stuff, because it works a lot better if you're open to be calm and centered.
Really good. So what I'm understanding here is that, every session can be is completely unique, and with your natural ability to tap into so much in terms of soul stories, there's such vastness when we're looking at the Galactic Astrology chart, but then using modalities like Aura-Soma or the numerology can help you focus and zoom in on exactly what's most relevant for the person. Would you say so?
Yes. And it's absolutely their soul that knows, because people will say, well, what do I do? You have all these things. I'm like, well, Just give me the code, and then that will point the way. And then sometimes it's surprising. And I always, when the client says, no, I don't want to do that, then I still honor that.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes we want like a kid in the candy store. I want that one first. Okay, well, let's do that. So
it's interesting for people who are conditioned to please others and they become what their environment expected them or wanted them to be. And they are getting all these signs that something is wrong, something is off in their life. And then they get a reading like this and actually are revealed the essence and the codes and what is actually meant as their path of highest potential. It can be so liberating to then start applying that into practice, I imagine.
It really is. And then in part of the soul codes, it includes the energy of the next steps. So it's not just let's, say what is going on. Let's look at the next steps that you're also asking.
And what about the wholeness of 12?
Well, that is really a lot to do with I think my biggest contribution, my life's work that's been sitting in volumes and thousands of pages of discourses and webinars. And so I think it's time for me to start really get out there in a bigger way and teaching about the 5 Aquarian chakras, which are, as I even have here, but at the end, my vision of the entire 12 planets of the solar system, because it's as above, so below. We have 12 chakras, we have 12 major organ systems, on and on. We all know. But I start channeling from Khutumi. He said so many things are going to be discovered because we just don't have the instruments. This is back in 2004. And so it was in 2018 that the scientists said, oh, we found the 12th organ system. Now we know what it is. So I finally said, yeah, I was trying to call it something else. I thought maybe it was the fascia, but it's the interstitium that wasn't discovered till 2018. Just like the 12th planet, which I think is the 12th planet, which beyond Pluto, it's been discovered, but they keep saying, no, it's not. And so I teach, that it's all like the black and white keys on the piano. We don't have 7 keys on the piano. We have 12. And I started, I learned to read music before I read words because I'm from a family of musicians. And so when we get these Aquarian chakras back in balance, which are the coral, our interdependence, it's the set. That's really the sun and they work in cycles of 7, from 7 to 13. We're going out into the world and learning we can be interdependent. That's very different than the red chakra. It's very different than the orange. That orange doesn't come online until we get to 14 to 20, where we go to university or start practicing stuff. Like, am I good at sports? Am I good at music, etc.? Then we got this is why people come to me, by the way, because they're seeking out what are the Aquarian chakras. It's coral, our interdependence. It's gold, which is our wisdom, our worthiness. Our purpose is in that gold often. The olive, which bridges us into leadership from the yellow into the green, the turquoise, the willingness to serve the divine from the heart, and the royal blue. And I have whole classes on this. This is the 10th chromatic chakra, where we have 5 of 6 higher mind functions. There's only one here. There's clairaudience and clairvoyance. So I teach activating that. So that's why people come to me in the first place, that I just am ready to line it all up and get it all out there.
Incredible volume of work. I'm so excited to explore this further. So RonnaPrince.com is the website with all the information here, various services.
And there's my Galactic Astrology, which I've got a special. So, this being the newest modality, I think it's really more where all the descriptions might be in my store, where you can actually see the various sessions, because I wanted to give people just a variety of options. So the first session I have up there, I think after Soul Codes, is my Galactic Destiny. So that's the first one that's a little bit back higher. So I have that. It's just like a 30-minute session, and then I have a couple more in-depth lessons, and I put in this special service that I happened to, figure out while during the class called Healing Pregnancy Loss. And that one I think is really going to help certain women who are still suffering from that. And that is something that I found out because I knew my 4th child was it was a twin pregnancy, and I was told I'm losing the pregnancy, and I refused to just go ahead and, get it removed as the doctors wanted. I said, absolutely not. I was checking, here's my amazing, awesome golden labradorite pendulum I've used for years. It's the only one that doesn't fall apart. I went through so many pendulums. This one has been my trusty friend for years. And I'm like, I have a heartbeat in here. There's no way. So then anyway, there was one heartbeat, and then, we didn't really focus on it, but the reason I looked like I was losing it because there was an absorbed twin. And when I was doing Galactic Astrology, I said, wait, I can go back. I know the conception, and I can use my pendulum to figure it out exactly. And I got to meet the soul history of this little girl and see what she's been doing. And it was so healing. And I'm like, this has got to help other people. So that's kind of a specialty that I think I'll be developing. I had somebody who had a full-term stillbirth years and years ago, and we did the chart for him, and she just cried and cried all the way through, because it's, we're all from the divine, we're all from God, and they're back with God ultimately. But when you can see, like, there's been a whole history before this ever happened, and there's a whole lot of history, and they're always part of us. They've touched into us a little bit. It's so, so healing.
This is profound, Ronna. Thank you so much for bringing that in, and just the potential of what this can do, as it may inspire others to start looking at stillbirth soul charts through galactic astrology, and really tapping into soul history, and perhaps even synastry charts and with mother, so you can actually start seeing the soul connection between them. What is the karmic story there? There's so much that can be revealed there. And I just love how the psychic tuning in that we are all becoming better and better at. It's like psychic abilities are really coming online for so many people, especially with Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. Big portion of humanity discarding that as not relevant or not real. So now having it backed up by something like astrology, galactic astrology, or other amazing modalities like numerology and so on, it just is so soothing, healing. So much clarity and healing can come out of it.
It's really helping a lot of people, and that's my passion, is just to see people kind of tune into who they really are, how powerful we are. I think we're really here to overcome the main archetypes of victim, perpetrator, savior, sinner, and just really integrate all of that and be proud of these galactic courageous journeys that we've been on. I mean, just even this life alone, this is alone enough. But I'm really passionate about how I'm here to help people, and I knew that from so early on, and it takes many forms. I think Absolutely. There's so many people searching, what's the next step? And it's just, I always say, it's right there. You just got to put your foot out. It's going to show up.
There is a question that came in about a person that is a complete newbie to all this stuff, and they feel so intrigued, so drawn to it, to your energy. They want to know more, but they have no idea where to start, what to do. They want to get their galactic astrology reading done. They want to know if they're connected to stars, but they don't know even what to ask. How would you guide them to get the most relevant information from you? Would it be, as you said, through looking at their numerology, asking for favorite colors? How would you help someone who's just clueless but so eager to know something that will help the most?
Well, I think what helps people the most is we start with that code, and we'll say, we will certainly look at your galactic history, but I think only 1 or 2 times has it ever happened that somebody that I'm seeing for the first time didn't tune into their soul energy. So I do a little meditation, and they'll give me a string of numbers, and they will hit their soul frequency. I mean, it won't just be, I've somehow in here managed to get a 9. You got a 1 out of 9 chance to get that. I had somebody who was a 99, and she gave me a number 11 and 88. And I go, your soul absolutely knows who you are, and it will communicate every time. So that's a great starting point, because I can say, you do know. This is so exciting. Look you just nailed your soul, your vibration of your name or your birth date or both. And so then they get the confidence to go, yeah, I do know stuff. And I'm like, yeah, then let's see what's next. Let's do galactic history, or the galactic astrology. And it's so affirming. I don't know anybody else that exactly works this way, but I just say, it's amazing. And so they feel so validated because they gave me that. And I said, I don't even try to know this stuff, because your soul is way better on you than I am. So it's always with that number code. And it's just, I guess, my gift since 13 years old that I know that. And I have this little 8 or 9 minute audio called The Essence of Numbers, that people that are working with me, this is how they start to learn. Because nine's not just a 9. We used to learn, what does it mean? What's a 3 feel like? And what's a 6? And, what are these numbers? And this is how I learned, was the feeling of the numbers, not the dry numbers that we get taught in school. Nobody wants to do that, but we have to. So it's really being able to help other people tune in to the beauty of the choice that they're coming in this life to, really shine on certain frequencies. And like your case, 9, be a humanitarian leader, and 1 a leader. So it's
so beautiful. Let's send that prayer, the vision for near future of humanity, where children will be taught mathematics through intuition, through tuning in to deep universal truths in basic numbers from 1 to 9. Oh, so much potential. There is one more thing that I want to touch on, and that's radical forgiveness. How do you work with that frequency, and does that ever come to even something like Galactic Astrology sessions? Do you want to say anything about that?
I was so grateful to meet Colin Tipping, when I was in the middle of do I give up this film project? Because this is just so hard. And it, like most people, this will be familiar. I didn't see his book one time. I was given it 3 times. So the third time, I'm like, okay, I guess I have to do this. And I met Colin, and then he has a big place in the film. And it does have a very powerful place in Galactic Astrology, because it happens to be an 88 frequency, a master number. So sometimes people will just end up with that. They don't even try very hard. It just ends up in their soul code. So yeah, this is it. And here's how it looks. And this is very galactic. This is the higher octave, or the return path, because Aura-Soma tarot goes beyond 78. So we have an opportunity to have a return journey of the fool or the wise soul. So when I see that Wheel of Fortune, this is Dharma. So the path to Dharma is radical forgiveness of everything, pretty much, So this is where it shows up, and you can see how multi-galactic this is. It's like where, we got the signs of the zodiac, where the wheel, we're moving out of that repeating story of the Wheel of Fortune, just, over and over and over again. So, but what that means is, the radical forgiveness, most importantly, is for the self. It's easier to forgive others. And so we end up usually getting into that place of, looking at the internal family system, which is the parts of ourselves that are still blaming and holding on to over responsibility. So that radical forgiveness helps us understand this was all happening for my soul's growth and development. And we simply have to make a choice to forgive ourselves, because we've done all of these things. We're vast galactic beings, with everything that's happened. We've often, somewhere in our history, we've hurt other people. And so it's forgiving ourselves. And that, when sometimes what really helps, I've seen with the Galactic Astrology, where people have seen these big movements where they've been through the Lyra Ring Nebula and then the Orion, and then they're going, why can't I, manifest my soul purpose? Well, because you're still holding on to the past. I should have, or I didn't do this right. So that's where the steps of radical forgiveness come in. And Colin's work was very groundbreaking at the time, and I still use it. I still get quite a few people coming from the Radical Forgiveness website.
Amazing. I find it interesting that your Pluto in first house is conjunct Thuban Draco, which for me, through experience with people who have this star conjunct their planets, they anchor frequency of sovereignty. And forgiveness would be in that too, acknowledging what was, regardless of how dark it may have been, but the ability to stand in the frequency of sovereignty, truth, acknowledgement, all these things, and sensing how much you have been true, seeing you where you are now. It's just inspirational to feel your frequency. And I'm forever in awe with witnessing people like you who go through a lot of darkness and are still able to bring so much light, so much love, so much wisdom to this planet. Human soul, human spirit is just absolutely the most amazing thing in this universe. It's gotta be.
And it's such a team effort, the interdependence that we have upon each other, where nobody's really alone. And I know in my film, it was really important to honor the First Nation peoples. So it wasn't just about a bunch of talking heads, that were famous, but we have people from the Lakota Nation, and I can only call him Uncle because he's got an Icelandic name that nobody knows. But people, all these beautiful wisdom teachers from around the world took part, and I love it. When they said, we've always known it's about the heart. It's just you Westerners are picking up on it now. And it's time for us to, melt, as Uncle says, melt the ice in the heart of humanity so we can come together. And we need it now more than ever, because things are heating up on the planet, because I think we're heading to some really big stuff in the next few years. And
this is where the courage comes, huh? That's
courageous. Being seen. It's time for those of us who have these gifts, and I know a lot of people, everyone in this group does, and people listening in, everybody has their gift, and we're all going to be needed in the next few years. So being courageous enough to be seen, so like, I better model it now because I got out there once, I could do it again.
Do you feel in your experience, especially as you were guided through that message from Master Khutumi, to bring in the galactic, bring the cosmic frequencies into our everyday awareness, that somehow what we're going through as humanity is creating healing and greater connectivity across the whole universe?
Most definitely. And he, always communicates in many different ways, but one of the favorite phrases he's given me is all beings, all times, all space, all one. That's 111. He said, this is just when we recognize that, I am that part, that person who's so angry that they'll commit acts of violence. Well, somewhere in my history, I've done that. I've gone, forgiven that. And he said, we really literally are one. And so that was, I think, the message on June 6th of this year is you've got to go bigger. I said, okay. And that's where I ended up with Galactic Astrology, because I really believe it is the time of recognizing we are not alone in the universe. We can see that happening in Congress and in our hearings and public hearings. And so, that's pretty much in the collective conscious now. Most people realize we're not this one little solitary planet in the entire Milky Way galaxy. So what does that mean? I don't know. But, I know I did get to see a UFO when I lived in Phoenix, which is the 33rd parallel of the United States. I lived there for 22 years, and I was sitting in the outside with my youngest son, and here comes these lights, and they're going, I get up, I start running out of the hot tub. I'm like, let's go check this out. And my kids going, Mom, come back. So I've seen them, and I've seen it in the Phoenix 33rd parallel on my own. And I'm like, I have no doubt. And since doing this, I'm going up the spaceships in Andromeda, at least in my dreams. And it's like, I'm home. So it's been
good when you have a validation then in a chart as well, that you're not just making it up, but perhaps there is transit or somehow the Andromeda comes through for you. Oh, incredible. Ronna, is there anything that I didn't ask you and that you would like to bring in to this podcast? Any message that you would like to share as we're closing?
Well, I think you did a great job of asking me what's the important points, and I just share, the energy of the sacred journey of the heart it's for everybody, and it's the message I put into the timelines in 2012, and that's echoing, which is another frequency for this year. It's echoing throughout the cosmos. It's our heart that is being heard and finally seen. And I think the main message is we're not alone, and we're ready to have all kinds of levels of help, human and otherwise. So I just love this community, and I'm so grateful that I was called here. And
deep gratitude, so much respect for everything you have been through, everything you have accomplished, everything you are here yet to accomplish. I will be your biggest cheerleader as we see where the path is taking you, what else is still possibly there for you. Are there still plans for further movies, documentaries, or do you feel that chapter of your life has closed and you're more focused on one-on-one or group work going forward? What do you feel is on?
Well, interesting enough, because my editor, Scott Servine, who brought the film from kind of semi-homemade to full production value, he and I have been putting our heads together, and I really want to do a film with showing the transformation with internal family systems. So we're kind of putting that into play. That's where we really become the great nurturer, the cosmic mother for our own self, for all the little parts of ourselves that are still kind of afraid or anything. I love IFS, so I'm thinking about that. But I know what it takes to make a movie, so I really have to have some very powerful confirmation signs if I'm going to do that. And who knows, it could end up being Galactic Astrology, because my film was on Gaia TV for 6 years, and that might be more traction. It could be, new possibilities are happening here all the time. So.
Beautiful. Best wishes for all that. Just with regards to the family constellation, I would encourage you or anyone who works with that system to bring galactic astrology in and see how perhaps the galactic stories may be playing out in some of the dynamics. I'm sure they are. So I'm just so excited for that potential also to open up, and hopefully we'll get to have a podcast one day where we can talk more about that. Of how far back some of the connections go, and how truly as humanity, whatever we are going through, we often think, oh, it's just mini me, so insignificant what I'm going through. But actually we are the ripple effect of every little healing and transformation and realization and growth that we go through as individuals is impacting so many other nations. So not to blow our egos, but just to acknowledge how magnificent this time is and how important it is that we are here and that we do our best every day to keep showing up, keep standing in our sovereignty. So excited for you, Ronna. Well done again. And thank you for sharing all your wisdom, all your love with us. Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll see you all again soon. Take care.
Bye.